Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today, you don't believe that we're going to a world digitized currency. Let's talk about that. DTCC, what's that? To tokenize, what's that? Russell 1,000 stocks and treasuries in July pilot with BlackRock and Goldman Sachs. Let me read that again. My guess is most of you are saying, huh? Or what? In Hebrew, you would say, ma, that's what in Hebrew. You would say, I don't understand. What's going on? Actually, that headline has a lot of very important things in it. The average person out there is never going to know, and what's more, could care less until it's like the snake beside their foot they don't know is there. All of a sudden, it bites them. So I'll read it again. DTCC, what's that? To tokenize Russell 1,000 stocks and treasuries in July pilot with BlackRock and Goldman Sachs. So here are the key takeaways of that article. The U.S. markets main clearinghouse will begin production testing of tokenized stocks, ETFs, and treasuries in July 2026. What did that just say? That just says that we are fast moving to a digital currency. A global digital currency, just like the Bible says. Oh, wait a minute. The Bible doesn't say that. Well, no, not in those words, but I'll show you. It does in so many words. But look, let's go back and look carefully. The U.S. market's main clearinghouse, well, what is that? That's the DTCC. That means that every currency transaction, at least in America, I think it's the whole world, goes through this one place. And they're beginning production and testing of tokenized stocks, ETFs, and treasuries. When? So when is this coming online? Some of the people say July. Some of them say early 27, but the point is it's just around the corner. Now, let's go back. What does that word tokenized mean? I'm going to show you the actual definition in a second, but essentially it means giving everything, including you and me, a digitized value. Because if it's not digitized, then we're still locked into coins and paper. So they're testing a new digital currency system. That's what that sentence says. More than 50 firms, including BlackRock. Who's BlackRock? Well, that's just the largest company in the world in terms of stock market and exchanges and things like that. And I have done my research on BlackRock, and also State Street and Vanguard, and have to be careful what I say, but I think that they are probably three of the top Moloch companies, three of the top most evil companies on the planet. BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Circle, and Ondo Finance. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that the big boys, the ones that really count, are going digital. So if they go digital, that means all the middle line and all the bottom line, and that means me and you are, like it or don't, going digital. The pilot will assess whether tokenized securities can deliver faster, okay, we know that, I'll explain, faster, more efficient settlement than traditional market infrastructure. Okay, is it faster to move a digitized whatever, an email, whatever it is around the planet, or is it faster to move a coin or a paper currency? Obviously, digital. It's instant. Well, it's a good idea. Matter of fact, world government's a good idea. That is, if Jesus is in charge. But if the devil's in charge, not such a good idea. Let's go on, though. There's more. So what is the DTCC? It's the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Will begin limited production trades of tokenized real-world assets in July 2026. What is that saying? It's saying we are starting a global digitized currency in July 2026. Who's DTCC? These are the guys that says if you buy a stock, it goes through us to see that you get credit for that stock and to see that your money is paid and all of that sort of stuff. Bringing Russell 1000 equities, major ETFs, and U.S. Treasuries onto blockchain. What's blockchain? Think of it as the system. I got something in my eye here. The system that all of the digital assets, let me put it this way. It's like a railroad rail, okay? The locomotive and all the cars run on that rail. The blockchain is that rail that they run on. Okay, that's an easy way to understand it. So they're setting up a new railroad, a digital railroad. When you think blockchain, think railroad, okay? U.S. Treasury is on the blockchain infrastructure for the first time through a pilot backed more than 50 firms, the big ones, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, the big ones. The organization announced on May 4th. Okay, this was, 6, 8 weeks ago? Now it's coming online. A full service launch is scheduled for October 2026. They're just practicing. Okay, so what they're saying is that we've laid down the rails, we've built the locomotive, we've built the cars, and now in July we're going to start running that locomotive on those rails to make sure it's safe. And it actually starts moving goods, moving people. When? October 2026. And I'm going to read another one for you in just a second that said it'll be online by 2027. Now, what does that say? Well, we prophecy students want to know what's coming in the future. And you'd probably like for me to say we're going to be getting a digital currency in 2027. I can't say that, but I can show you the words here in just a second where they kind of say that. They don't say that, but they sort of say that, okay? October 2026, with the initiative spanning both traditional finance and crypto-native firms, including Circle, Ondo Finance, Ripple Prime. The two-phase rollout represents the most significant institutional tokenization effort to reach production stage in U.S. capital markets to date. That's not correct. Let me correct it. The most significant institutional digital currency to be implemented on the planet, at least since the flood. Maybe it was one before the flood, we don't know. But this is the big one. This is the biggie. This is the one that the prophecies have been warning us is coming. We've been getting a 2,000-year warning on just this. We're sitting here looking at it, scratching our heads saying, I wonder what that means. Well, as prophecy students say, I know exactly what that means. So what does it mean? Revelation 13. And he, who's that? That's the Antichrist, had power to give life unto the image of the beast. The image of the beast, I believe, will be a combination of a computer and probably a flesh and blood. It is probably also going to be like Daniel, with Nebuchadnezzar and all of that. He set up a big statue. It's probably going to be, part of that is going to be a big statue that he makes everybody worship, just like it did in Daniel's day. And cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast, think of a big statue, and also think of a part computer, part flesh being. As would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, receive a mark. In other words, if you have a beating heart, you're going to take it if you're going to buy and sell. But we Christians, we're still not going to take it. We may lose our life. Jesus gave his life for us. Why would we refuse to give our life for him? This whole life is just a vapor passing through anyway, okay? I regret that I have but one life to give for my Lord and Savior. That no man might buy or sell. That's the big words I want you to see. No man might buy or sell. Okay? That's telling us that this system has got to get in between buyer and seller. Right now, with coins and paper, the government can't get in between that. We can go out and give the coin or give the paper, and the government has nothing to do with that transaction. But when it has to go digital, and we have to have a cell phone that links up to Musk's satellites, that goes over to a quantum computer that links down to the buyer or the seller, and we pay everything digitally. You see what I'm saying? So I asked the Google AI, I asked it a question, and I thought I had a very interesting answer. I'm going to bring it to you. So I asked, what does the Depository Trust Company do? The DTCC is the central backbone of the U.S. financial markets. In other words, it's the railroad for coins and currency, or coins and paper. That includes like stocks and things like that. Central backbone of the U.S. financial markets. It handles the behind-the-scenes plumbing after a trade is made, verifying, recording, and transferring billions of dollars of securities and cash daily. In other words, it's the middleman to make certain that the buyer and seller connect. So if you're going to have a digital currency that can stop between buyer and seller, right there, you got to have that. This is turning on the faucet or turning off the faucet, okay? So I ask it another question. So how does tokenization facilitate a global digital currency system? That's kind of a loaded question. I thought that was a really good question. Again, I asked this of Google AI. And the question or the answer came back very interesting. Tokenization facilitates a global digital currency system by converting traditional fiat money, what we would say is coins and paper, and central bank reserves into digital tokens. In other words, little electronic beeps. Digital tokens on a unified blockchain ledger. Do you remember the first time you sent an email from computer to computer? I don't know about you, but I can recall getting on AOL, America Online, and you would hear the beep, and then you could send an email. And we thought, wow, that is so cool to be able to send an email digitally. Take that to the next level. That's where they're going. They're going to remove coins and paper, Brandon Biggs, and I think it was Charles Turner. There was two of them. So that all of a sudden, the banks keep all the money. When I think about it, if you want everybody to go to digital currency, that'd be a pretty smart thing to do. Just stick all of the coins and the paper in your pocket. People banging on bank doors couldn't get in. Let's go on. Reserves into the digital tokens on unified blockchain ledger. This process fundamentally restructures the global monetary architecture. It replaces slow, multi-layered, correspondent banking networks with instant, borderless, and programmable value transfers. Now, all of that sounds pretty good. Okay, so we don't have to wait 2 or 3 days for the money to arrive in China or Japan or wherever we might be sending or receiving money from. But the big word I want you to notice on that page, bottom left corner, programmable. Okay, what does that mean? Programmable means that if we say, if you're not a good boy, if you're not a good girl, then we're going to say that you're not going to be able to buy gasoline for a week. So they turn off your digitized currency that won't allow you to buy gasoline or food or water or whatever they want you, or maybe limit. You can only get 2 gallons of gasoline per month. That's programmable value transfers. The devil comes not but for to kill, steal, and destroy. So, do you remember this? Henry Kissinger said, who controls the food supply controls people. So what does that say? It's saying that the devil wants to control everything. He who controls energy can control whole continents. Who controls money can control the world. So that no one can buy or sell save he had the mark in the name of the beast and the number of the beast's name. Which is why I'd recommend you get this book. Miss the mark. 1 for $20, don't do that. You want to go to Prophecy Club 10 for $35 or 20 for $50. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. I like this, so I thought I'd put it up. This is Trump trying to get us to celebrate a 250th birthday. I think there's a lot said there. I think we're probably looking at a lot of changes on, about, or around associated July 20 or July the 4th. So the next question is 666, the number of the beast. What is that? Someone sent this to me in an email. They went to a play and took this picture. And they said, Stan, I think you'll be interested in this. So this was a play. And this is actually a boat, part of the play. And this was the sail of the boat. Now, here's a little bit closer look at it. They're moving around down there. But the point is, why would they put this design up on a sail? Because it's pre-programming people to accept it. Now, I took this one, the one on the right is the one I took off of TV. And then the one on the left, someone sent me this one. And this is apparently someone standing in line, and they've got 666 all over the clothes that they're wearing. Someone also sent me this. This is a 666 within a sign on the road. And here's another one. Thank you, by the way, for sending me your emails. This one is an entrance to a hotel. This is right on the hotel floor, apparently. 666, right there. And this is ancient art. I pulled this off of the internet. And this is an Honduras hotel when Leslie and I are down there ministering. Now, one could look at that and say, oh, Stan, that's not a 666. Or if you're looking for it, you could say, yeah, I can see that in there. But what about this? I took these pictures. I call this garage sale material. Leslie wanted to kill a few minutes and went into one of the stores there. Oh, look at these cute. And I said, yes, here's what you do. You buy it today and put it in a garage sale next year. She said, no, those are precious things. Well, here's some more of them. This is garage sale material. Buy it today, put it in a garage sale next year. Here's some more of them. But the point is, okay, where are they getting this spiral? The whole world is getting this spiral. I think it is the devil putting on their heart, getting them prepared for it. This is where I walked through Honduras Mall. None of the other people, there'd probably be 6 people with us walking through the mall. It was closing time. As you can see, there's no one there. And I looked up, and I was the first one to see this. I wonder why. See, some people don't see what the devil is doing. Then we walked over to another case. This was having to do with cartoons and things. But I want you to look at that. Now, the 666 there has a little point on it. I wonder if that means something extra, or maybe that's referring to some kind of an alien spacecraft or something. I don't know. But I thought that was interesting. I think this is another form of 666. It's not exactly, but it's in the direction. While we were there, we were doing a marriage seminar, and there was the whole team, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 of us people. Leslie was doing the majority of the talking at this marriage seminar. And I looked down, and nobody noticed it but me. And I said, you want to tell me what that is? And I went, oh, okay, do you see that? That's the 666 spiral, not an accident. This was on under TV. I had to pause it and take a quick picture. I went to the bathroom while we were at the big crusade we put on, and this was back by the bathroom. And sorry to say, it has some Spanish words on there. I don't know what the Spanish words are, so if they're curse words, please forgive me. I don't know what they are. I only saw the 666. And this was on the wall heading to the men's bathroom. So it's every place. Then I turned around with one of the ladies. She's actually one of the minister's wife. She's wearing this shirt. But what do you see on that? It's every place. That's the 666. So they're programming us to be ready to accept a new digital, that's the point, the digital currency system. Now, let's talk about tokenization. I mentioned it briefly. Tokenization is everything on the planet is being assigned a digital trading number, a digital currency. So I Googled this question, AI again. How does tokenization facilitate a global digital currency system? Tokenization is changing our coin paper world to a digital world. This will affect every person on the globe. This changes everyone's world that buys and sells, everyone. So I thought, I don't know if I'm making my point. So I thought, well, maybe some people see it a different way. So if you see my point that way, do you see my point this way? So I just turned the image upside down. Hopefully you can read it this way. Some people can't see it either way. They can't understand it. So tokenization, if you don't see it this way, hopefully you see it this way, but you probably do. Okay, so back to the question. Here's the AI answer. How does tokenization facilitate a global digital currency system? Tokenization facilitates a global digital currency system by converting traditional fiat money, that's coins and paper, and central bank reserves into digital images, or like emails. A digitized whatever can go around the globe instantly. On a unified blockchain, again, that's your Rails blockchain ledger. It replaces slow, multi-layered correspondent banking networks with instant, borderless, there's that word again, programmable value transfers. What's it saying? They're going to take our coins and our paper. They're going to make us buy and sell by digitized that can be programmed. That says if you're not a good boy and a good girl, you won't be able to make your house payment this month. And if you keep it up, we'll just take your house. That's communism. Matter of fact, I just recently heard a story. I don't think it was Mario Rubio, but I think it was one of his buddies. They said that one of the reasons that they moved to America is because they had a large farm, and the Fidel Castro group, the communists down there, just took the farm from them. You just took it. That's communism. See, that's taking from the rich and giving to the poor. That's communism. We don't like that. But there's a lot of people in New York that misunderstand. Now, let's go on, though. So how tokenization drives the global system. The foundation of global tokenized currency system relies on three core formats. One, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs or stablecoins. That's the rails, okay? And tokenized commercial bank deposits or digital bank deposits. And with these digital representations interact on decentralized or shared ledgers, they perform global commerce in several distinct ways. What are the ways? Well, I'm just going to summarize this. Just look at the highlighted areas. They tokenize currencies and settle atomically or instantly. They also represent the middleman that used to extract fees, but since there is no middleman, there are no delays, there are no fees, so it has a lot of advantages. And the money can flow around the globe without friction. That is, if you are a part of the system and they like you. It also is an executable code, like an email, that can embed logic directly into the money. Okay, what does that mean, embed logic? That means that they can program it. If they decide that, for example, your house payment needs to go up, it just goes up. If they decide that you can't get on an airplane for a month, you can't buy an airline ticket for a month. That's embedding logic directly into the money. When shipping obligations are digitally verified, okay, then we get to know that, when we paid for something, it didn't go to a scammer, it really reached there. And likewise, we're supposed to accept money. We know that we really got it. That is, if we're a good boy and a girl, okay? Continuous collateral and liquidity management. It's immediate transfers, immediate. Anti-money laundering. You can't steal anymore. And they can track it down to like 14 different transactions. That is, you can't steal when it's run correctly. But the problem is, world government's a good idea if Jesus is running it. But when you put the Antichrist running it, that's not such a good idea. And that's what we're trying to make here. Now, I've got a video I want to play here, and it's talking about how Wall Street just moved a bunch of money. Listen.
The 233-year-old monopoly that is Wall Street decided to ditch the old system and completely change monetary systems around its birthday, around the day that it was created. I don't think that's a coincidence. 234 years ago today, 24 men under the buttonwood tree signed an agreement that birthed Wall Street, and this evidence will overwhelm you, okay? On May 17th, 1792, 24 stockbrokers at 68 Wall Street signed a 2-sentence cartel agreement. That cartel ran the world's money for 234 years. Today is May 17, 2026. I'm about to show you how they dismantled Wall Street in 30 days flat. Let's first start with the payment rails. That's the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. They're basically the clearinghouse that settles every stock trade in America. They custody $114 trillion in securities. On May 4th, the DTCC announced they're tokenizing it completely. 50 plus firms are onboarded. We're talking about BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Citibank, Charles Schwab. The actual rails that move every American stock trade are being switched to the blockchain. Not in 5 years. We're talking about in 5 months. Are you listening? Then 8 days after that, May 12th, the DTCC partnered with Chainlink to handle the tokenized collateral. Chainlink is a protocol, a crypto DeFi protocol. The most invisible, most regulated piece of Wall Street's plumbing just got publicly married to crypto, official crypto infrastructure. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then on May 13th, JP Morgan went live on Ethereum, their second tokenized money market fund. They were seeded with $100 million, the same JP Morgan whose CEO Jamie Dimon called Bitcoin a fraud in 2017. May 8th, Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook stood at a central bank and gave an entire speech mapping how tokenization is going to reshape the entire financial system. The Federal Reserve, the institution that prints every dollar in your wallet, publicly planning around the new payment rails of the world. 5 days later, the Senate confirmed Kevin Warsh as the Fed chair. He personally owns stakes in Bitcoin payment companies, DeFi protocols, stablecoin companies. The man about to run American monetary policy makes more money the faster this happens. He's going to make sure it happens. May 14th, the next day, the Senate Banking Committee passes the Clarity Act 15-9, heading to the Senate floor, White House targeting a July 4th signing. That's $4 trillion from JP Morgan, 14 trillion from BlackRock, State Street, that's another 30 trillion in custody. The DTCC is 114 trillion in clearing, plus 20 more banks queuing at Anchorage waiting to issue stablecoins. That's 162 trillion of traditional finance, almost twice the entire global world GDP. They're leaving the signs right in front of your face. Do you understand? You need to research, please.
Now here's another video I'm going to play back to back. It's talking about the Clarity Act.
The banks obviously rigged the rules to force everybody in crypto. And if the Clarity Act passes as it stands right now, every bank in America is going to be forced to adopt crypto, whether they like it or not. There's a specific detailed provision buried in the 257-page bill that makes the economics so lopsided that no bank on earth will be able to say no. Let me show you what's inside this bill. So there's a specific rule called the SAB 121 that says that if a bank holds your Bitcoin, they are legally required to record it as a liability on their own balance sheet, even though it's not their property because of the risk of crypto. That means that for every dollar of crypto they have custody, they have to set aside a massive regulatory capital. It made zero financial sense, and this is why JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs all stayed out. Believe it or not, they're still out of crypto. They're not fully in crypto right now. So we have the crypto companies like Coinbase, BitGo, Fireblocks building the entire custody industry because banks literally cannot afford to compete because of the regulatory compliance. Now, here's what the actual Clarity Act as it stands right now says. Section 310, and I'm reading this directly from the bill, says the SEC and federal banking agencies may not require a depository institution, national bank, federal credit union, trust company, broker, or dealer to include assets held in custody as a liability on the financial statement or balance sheet of the entity, including digital commodity or permitted to payment stablecoin custody. It also says they cannot force banks to hold regulatory capital against assets in custody except as necessary to mitigate against operational risk. Basically, the banks can custody or hold the crypto for 90% cheaper than what's currently happening right now. See, the Genius Act already lets banks create stablecoins right now and keep the yield. With this Section 310, it would let them custody every other digital asset with almost no balance sheet hit. They're making it economically irrational for banks not to adopt crypto. Now, if you combine that with Section 309, which was meant to protect all builders, developers, validators, node operators, and wallet creators, they're basically all fully exempt from securities regulation under this bill because it basically says the individual has a right to self-custody your own crypto. But here's nobody saying. That same section says nobody shall be construed to limit the authority of the Secretary of Treasury to enforce the Bank Secrecy Act or the Fentanyl Sanctions Act. So you have the right to hold your crypto, but every enforcement tool on the books applies to you if you self-custody. Meanwhile, the banks get near zero cost custody with full legal clarity. So what do you think people are going to do? They're going to put the money in the banks like they always do. Every major bank is getting a green light to custody digital assets at zero cost. Stablecoin issuers are already buying treasuries under the Genius Act. We have DeFi builders getting a federal safe harbor, and banks didn't just kill crypto. They're about to make it impossible to ignore. The assets that benefit the most from that wave are the ones you are holding right now. You better pay attention. It's happening. They're manufacturing it.
And then I've got a third video. The crypto war just quietly ended. I think you'll find this interesting too.
I guess the crypto war is over. Crypto just won. Here's the list. For 7 years, the U.S. government treated crypto like an open crime scene. On March 17th, the war quietly ended and crypto won, and it did not make headline news for whatever reason, so I have to resurface the information. The SEC didn't write the rules for crypto. They just sued people. That's how crypto operated for the past 15 years. Whoever they wanted, they would just go sue them for securities laws because there was no regulation. They even had a nickname for it. It's called regulation by enforcement. You never actually knew if the coin in your wallet was legal or about to be declared illegal. We saw this with XRP. Then on March 17, 2026, the SEC and CFTC, the two agencies that spent a decade fighting crypto, signed a 68-page document together. For the first time, it's a binding agreement on both of them. It names 16 coins as digital commodities. The plain English is that the legalities are clear and it's officially off the SEC's hit list. They cannot be sued, or at least not be sued for regulation, maybe sued for other things. So here's the actual list. I'm gonna list it out. These are gonna be safe, okay? Number 1, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Cardano, Avalanche, Chainlink, Polkadot, Hedera Hashgraph, Stellar, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Tezos, Bitcoin Cash, Aptos. That list is very clear from regulation, guys. Every coin on it already had a government regulated futures contract trading on it, which means the government had quietly treated these as commodities for years before they put it on paper. And it gets even crazier. Those 16 coins are roughly 8% of the entire crypto market value. In one document, 8% of the market got a green light, and they have been regulated without the Clarity Act. They even got specific with staking, mining, and airdrops that are not securities on these chains. The exact things that used to threaten regular people, okay, in their portfolio. And what you have to understand is that the really, really rich people, they stayed out of crypto because of regulation. They didn't know if they're gonna get sued or not, so they never bought any coin. It was legal risk, and that risk just got erased for 8% of the entire market. By the way, this is not law yet, it's an interpretation. So a future administration can revise it, and that's the exact same reason why we have the Clarity Act attempting to be passed right now into law.
Wall Street goes all in on a blockchain infrastructure. Again, that's the rails for the railroad. MasterCard and Visa building stablecoin. That's the rails. U.S. banks plan tokenized deposit network targeted for early 27 launch. So one place is saying July. Another place says it's going to be online by October 26. This guy is going to say it's all working by 27. Now, what does that tell us? Does that tell us that the mark of the beast is going to be out by 27? No. But what it should be telling us, it's getting pretty close. DTC's tokenization service plans 50-plus firms with RWA trades starting in July 26. Some of them will start in July, some of them will start in August, but they'll be fully online in 27 is what this is saying. Now, what are RWA trades? They refer to the buying and selling of digital tokens that represent ownership, or again, it's back to the rails that the train runs on. Clarity Act. Okay, now we have three things here. The first one was Trump signed a couple of executive orders that is starting the digitized currency. But the big one that's going to make everything start moving is the Clarity Act. This says the hearing on the bill is slated for July the 17th. If the Clarity Act must be in place before we get digital currency, then it means we're pretty close, but it means it's not here yet. This goes on to say this hearing is going to take place July the 17th. This article says digital euro clears key hurdle. So what are they doing? It's not just an American thing. They're not just taking away coins and paper in America or China. They're doing it around the world. It's all happening all at the same time, all around the world. So then no man can buy or sell, say he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name.